writing that. And then 50 sewer manholes. The report conclusions in the report, we're approaching $1 million on that sewer collection system in that sub area, just to give you a scope. So the 3 projects, you know, where these investigations and design work and permitting that we're doing is being paid for with that service that had fallen off from early 2000 projects. So we're using that money to pay for this process. And there'll be future bonding to upgrade both the wastewater treatment facility, the pump stations. This in the future, the very near future. Yes. I wanted to bring those to you. You have any questions on that? Any of that?
How often do we inspect the diffusers for the diffusers?
So it's been a while that they've been inspected. So this was the first time we actually saw it as a requirement. So where people start taking proactive action. Sure, the outfalls are updating.
Those are actually not attached like they should be, is that what
Well,
you're
it's 50
saying?
years under 50 years on the seabed. So,
Yeah, so
Like
think
anchors and stuff like that?
well, I mean, you can see there was some lobster traps in the areas of road.
you think it's,
Corrosive, you know, they're guts. Believe it.
Usually we get.
So the 3 projects that you mentioned, that one wasn't one.
Well, we're waiting on the outfall.
Yeah.
The outfall is part of the scope of wastewater treatment. But I don't want to alarm you with, you know, telling you it's millions of dollars, but until we get the investigation and really dive into what. Yeah, to see what the condition really is, to try to find where the holes are.
the 3 projects are the repair to the.
Wastewater plant
Yep, to the plant itself, then to the.
and the floor pump stations.
Yep, right.
And then now the collection system. There are other areas I still investigating collection system.
So when you say these things are near term or coming, they can for this fiscal year or are they still?
So it all depends on, so we're working, Weston Sampson's working on a facilities plan update, which is basically it's a submission to DEM explaining what we're going to be asking to do. And it's updating our facility, so it's permanent really from then. So that I'm hoping to have within the next month at DEM. So once it's in their hands and they start signing, gets approvals on that, then we can start going ahead to find this. Getting good estimates. Good deal. Rest of it.
One of the things in your report, Mike,
Yes.
or just in the info, you know,
Yeah,
rainfall is particularly low. I mean,
very low,
the-
10 inches. Well,
Yeah, the reservoir is not as low as one might think from.
it's holding 50.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just barely getting a few inches. It's dry.
Yeah.
You don't know, if you look at the trends in the reservoir,
Yep.
I mean, you don't really see us recover until people in that situation.
Right.
So it's not too alarming.
Yeah, but the,
But you will see in our pumping report, you right there, the average. It's below average.
yeah,
So
okay.
trends in here.
Looks like it's the driest it's been in like 10 years.
Very
But
much.
just the best time of year for it to be dry, because the requirement is not nearly as high, so there's.
What you're saying is you're not concerned if you've lost time to recover.
No, I mean,
Usually
it's
gets
expected.
Rain here in spring.
Also shocking in comparison to last year.
We had a lot of,
Yeah.
that's it for my report.
wanna go on to?
the rules. So I provided to you, so the last meeting, you had some, good work. Comments that we, talked about with the rules. I provided the comments, to our consultant FAR. They updated the draft, this working draft dated January 14th. There are two documents, one showing the changes, so you can see the strikes and the language that we were asking for in the document, and then there's a clean version. Where you say, you know, have all those strikes, so I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at it. If you have any questions about it, I know there was a lot of comments in the preamble. Also, we try to get all of that into the document as you requested. Two most important things are the district. If you look at the clean document, you'll have in the appendix at the back. We have the water district showing where water exists, so what we're doing is we're defining the district where water exists, so. North Road to Wheaton, because the water piping goes up to Wheaton, and our houses that are on water. We're to East Shore Road and then up to 20 Seaview where water was just extended this year. So that's that's probably that and extending the district out to Far Weatherall. So it encompasses all of that land.
It's a little unclear though with that.
The line down Hamilton,
down
it
Hamilton.
was just something that GIS me,
Okay,
trying to get it on the agenda, so.
and then
that.
when the line runs along Whedon, but there are several lots faced them. And they're not in,
So, and then by district, so if you front on a main,
yeah, so they are,
I am, so same thing. In the old urban district,
right,
I'll give you an example, Hamilton.
Right.
District was Hamilton Avenue, but all of the lots of frontage have, they do that.
so now it will include all of Island Drive and all of that stuff.
Yeah, so as we talked about, is just to create one district, that was the industry, right? So we're recognizing we're not recognizing urban and rural.
Right.
It's just one district. And in the rules, as they're written now, no private extensions of water mains. And houses that front on a water main.
So all those houses on Whedon. Lots, Whedon.
Well, those, you know, future lots, I guess, from farms sold. I mean, there's not much you can do about that. Because the main exists and by regulation is written, they front on main.
Yeah, no, I get all that, I just wondered, should they be included, should that red line proceed to the end of that?
I don't know, I mean, it's.
Yeah, I don't either. Who the Quakers get,
And then,
Can I ask a question, actually,
Yeah, of
after
course.
the illustration, so. If the only thing that goes in my mind is like if you think about the property that you own, it's no picture. It's a prose, right, that articulates.
it's usually a defined,
Yeah.
from point such and such, 150 feet.
Right, but it doesn't have a picture. I'm just wondering if the picture. Geez, like it might be customary to include it, but I'm just wondering, like, we might argue about where that red line should be, and then somebody might bring that red line in, and then. Should there be an exhibit or not? I don't know the answer to that, but I could see how, you know, unless it's a really superimposed picture, it might be problematic down the road.
Bob's always had a figure in the rules, I mean, it's.
No, that's why I'm saying I don't know, and it might be customary, which would imply that you should do it, but when I think about. Property I own, there's no picture in the record, it's.
Sometimes there is, and
Sometimes there
sometimes
is.
obviously there's a survey, there are
Yeah,
pages and pages of surveys.
Yeah. Anyway,
So if there's anything like that, but
but like, where is it?
I think, I mean, that It's just, that's the one thing that strikes me, and I noticed it, I don't know why I was looking up at that area. And you constant perusal of the GIS maps.
Sure.
Yeah,
That person, if I go over just look at page 5 of the each 5 packet, some definitions of life. Similar to what Eddie's suggesting, for the sewer district, you give a very specific narrative of the district, so we could work to define the water district in a similar fashion that takes you lot by lot of where the the 4 corners of the district.
Yeah, or just qualify it, like, make it clear that the definitions control, that the illustration is just exemplary, if it's not or illustrative, that way we don't get into something where they're like, oh, it looks like it's
I mean,
included, but it is.
sometimes that's been confusing, the very thickness of a line, and so.
That's my point,
Yeah,
So are you asking us to be defined or?
I think it should be, I think the definition, Ed's point is good, like, it should be really tight, and then maybe just qualify an illustration. Or make it clear in the drafting that the definition controls, it's not the illustration.
Yeah.
Because it's a legal document, I mean, we're gonna,
And sewer district as well, we adjusted the northern line to include where sewer exists today. There's intent on bringing it around the golf course. So we included the lots on Westwind Drive, they were not included originally, if you remember, there's a
Right.
force main there.
they pump it,
Yeah. So we included the lots of Westwind Drive, included the golf course, around the golf course, over to basically the police station, then over to around Taylor Point. Because it didn't include the, like, for instance, videos.
Hmm.
And then the southern, it didn't include Meadow Lane in there. But around Meadow Lane at Hamilton. Some of the lots on Baltimore. There's a straight line crossing. So those are the two differences.
Here.
And then, a lot of, you can see where we struck some of the language in our review. At our last meeting, this document. We included a definition for underground irrigation, I think that was important.
Yep.
So we put that in our definitions and what that is and what it means, and we also, we had some in section 3. Was some talk about resale of water. Struck that language out. But we did put in, that town may charge a user convenience fee. And then, feature, yeah, a lot of them are just minor comments, just. Here. Oh, so with the sewer connection, you can see some language, we're just trying to be consistent because there is a sewer. This. And so we added some language, basically recognizing chapter 74 of the town code of ordinances, so we're trying to. Try to merge the two, that the ordinance exists and that. Making sure that are consistent. So I don't know if you have any other comments. So Peter and I spoke today that I think we need to just talk about how we move forward. We have to have a hearing. You want to comment on that, Peter, or?
Yeah, what's the process, I guess, Peter?
Yeah, well, what I thought, would be best at this point is, we have to put this in the form of an ordinance amendment. So Mike and I and the consultant will work on that document, and probably be ready for your meeting next month, February. And then you could review it one more time, if you're satisfied with the content, then you could order a public hearing on.
Awesome.
Do we have to vote to have you craft the ordinance or no?
Well, you could, if you want, you could just say you're satisfied with what's there and proceed and present it as an ordinance, and then you could if you like, yeah.
I would move to authorize Mike, Peter, and the consultants to prepare and permits and then revise Jamestown sewer rules and regulations. Second.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Great,
Yeah.
Thank you.
great work. I think. Our nitty gritty stuff. Everyone who comes up to the podium needs to look at panel.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay.
It's bad.
I see some people out there that can do it, okay. Yeah, all right, so. Motion to adjourn?
We have the consent.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Move to approve the consent agenda for Board of Water and Sewer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now making a motion to adjourn, saying, is the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners,
So moved.
in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. That brings us to the open forum, but before we begin, I just mention that, we held interviews this evening before our regular meeting started, and, we were at the point where we could possibly make an appointment tonight to the Harbor Commission. I just wonder if anybody's sitting out there waiting for just that, we won't be able to appoint tonight because one of the interviewees, applicants wasn't able to make it, so we're gonna on that. Just wanted to, that brings us to the open forum portion. Anybody want to speak on that? Yes. Good evening, will you please state your name?
Howdy, how are you?
Okay.
My name is BJ Whitehouse, 61 State Booth Street, and I'm here as the chairperson of the Senior Services Committee. We sent along a note to Mr. Mello. I think you may have gotten a copy of some of the results of our meeting on last week. A week and a half ago, we took a tour of the renovations as a committee along with Fernando Pereira from the Friends of the Gates, seniors, along with Mr. Mello, Mr. Gray, and I can tell you right now, they look good. One of the most important things for me was going down in the basement, seeing that the floor has been completely replaced as opposed to what it used to be. If you were unfamiliar with that, it was a dirt floor that we put a bunch of plywood over at that time. So it has been completely renovated and I could not be happier. It was fun looking at what has been done thus far. I talked to Mr. Mello following it, and he said you probably should move along with your ideas. We met the next day as a committee. She met some of the ideas, but I just wanted to point out a few things that we found. First of all, it's going very well, except we would like to see a few things. For example, natural light, like the windows to provide as much natural light as possible. That was probably number one consideration in our meeting. Consideration number 1A was maintaining the wooden floors on the top floor. In that, unlike the town hall or some of the other places, there are all sorts of movement exercises and so forth where carpeting could be a problem. We Even Ms. O'Neill from our committee may have provided some information about that. She herself had a personal story about carpeting. And I noticed a couple of you folks up here are not seniors. I am. And it gets interesting. If you can stay young, please consider that fact. Well, do the best you can because we're trying to keep it safe. The other thing that I was very impressed with was the idea of maintaining as well as possible the heritage of that building. It's a Grange. It's going to be the senior center, but for example, I was patent. They removed the stage, but it looks great. There's an awful lot of space now back there. It's now you don't have to go through the Zumba class or guided meditation to talk to the senior services director. You will have her office right off to the side, and which is actually creating more space. So it's really a good idea. But I would like to see, for example, the wainscot. It is original to the building, and I would like to see it not painted. We all kind of agree on it, that's why it's part of that. Sand it down perhaps, like the floor, and keep it as light as possible beside that. One of the other things on the wish list would be skylights. I don't know where we're at with that, but that is kind of on the wish list. It would create even more natural light in there. One of the things I did not know is that building was not insulated. It will be insulated now, which I'm very pleased about. I have to admit, very impressed. That's one of my favorite buildings anywhere. And I've been part of that in their forming and meetings, all sorts of things, dances, whatever. And I want to maintain some of that heritage. I did a great deal of research because we're coming up on its 100th anniversary. I think it's next year, 1927, when that building was built. And what a great way to celebrate this renovation. I just wanted to pass along these ideas from the Senior Services Committee. They were agreed on, voted on, and thank you. Okay. Any questions at all, let us know.
Well, I think I had some questions, just because I was a little confused by the presentation. I didn't know if you guys all voted on these thoughts or whatever. It would have been great to have had that. You know, it's always good to show in a meeting of dated on such and such a date, the Senior Services Committee met and unanimously supported the.
I'm going to interrupt you because on my way here, the minutes of our last meeting on my website that I had to get here.
Gotcha.
So, I mean,
That would have
they
showed.
are available. I would be more than happy to send you a thing. And we'll be more than happy to come back and chat about it as well as part of the agenda.
The other thing is that, the timing is a little problematic. We have just received a bid for windows.
Great.
And, right, so were you planning, did you want bigger windows? I got the sense that.
No, the sense that
Within the existing.
if we take a look at these windows here, these are all divided up into sections. These are, I believe, going to be double hung windows over at the senior center. And what was suggested was bottom portion would be clear with no lattice work.
And that you also asked for cottage style, which is a bigger bottom section and a smaller.
Well, that was not my thought, but yes, I
Yeah.
voted on it.
And I mean, we've received, the windows that are planned that you received a bid for on June 8th, which is in our consent agenda. Are those replacement windows or are they gonna go within the jam or will the entire old window be pulled out and replaced?
That calls for the fire to be. Construction like.
Great.
And we can match the pattern that is. That. To keep.
Was there, which is not the cottage style, and also not the. Yeah, 6 over 7. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why, if we don't get sick, or if we don't get the cottage style, we're not gonna have demonstrations or anything. These are the recommendations of your senior services committee. Anything else? All right, thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this one? Seeing there's no one else, we will move on to acknowledgements. We have a presentation from the Jamestown Board of Campuses. That would like to comment on this. Hello.
Hi, good evening. And chairperson, members of the council, my name is Eugene.
Sorry, can you just hold on one second?
She's just.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Go to slide, selection. On the left, oh, sorry.
I realize that sharing screens.
Yeah, my name is Hugh Murphy, 11 Stern Street, I'm a member of the Jamestown Board of Campuses, and view the Jamestown campus recommendation for qualifying natural town. So basically, the background is recommendation. There's a reason out of the fall off of the June 2025 June. We actually get comments from town residents. We saw on Jamestown Press, Facebook postings calling them open street. After the meeting, were things like disaster, confusing, what really wrong, how to understand ballot, and comment. Meeting was held too small event, one night for AC and the rest closed. Period. Venue would go on at Lawn School Gym, the largest on the island for holding such a event. It has a maximum capacity of 7. This represents less than 14% of the other political resident voters. Hardly conducive to fair and democratic voting. So what is the relationship of Jamestown Board of Campuses to the council and to FTN? Well, under Title 17 of the General Laws of JBOC is vesting on the town council as the local campus authority. They're vested with the authority to administer nominations, elections, related to the FGM town budget. Registering voters, certifying eligibility, distributing ballots, counting ballots, and delivering the results to the town council. Relative to the FGM is town councils assigned to the board of campuses control and mission to the eligible residents. Develop and provide balance relative to the voting and budget. Of the votes on the ballot issues and provide results to the town council. To perform our duties by technology provided by the state of poll ads, names and addresses of Jamestown registered voters, voting machines to tabulate the votes, provide accurate. So why are we making these? Well, first off, it's the duty of the local candidacy authority to make recommendations to provide to town council. Second, to allow small local residents support from departments, such as clarifying and simplifying, making voting more efficient. Third, how budgets will continue to grow and more common. State mandates, additional town services will be needed, and extra budgetary items with extra budgetary items and things like warrants. Number 4, bigger budgets mean possible taxing for per leads per generation. By more far. You open voting. But it's all changed. Less than 50%. File the deed, bring the FGM up to the bottom, G and C. Jamestown residents truly have a say. Slide. Some general background information on financial term. Well, they go back up as far as pushing towns and small. Budgets were to goal and all town folk. As described in common cause, the FTM conjures up this platonic idea. Self-government. Reality over time, many towns have done away with it. Because of low participation. The FDMs being prone to capture by small local governments. Over the last 5 years, common cause have also found that FDMs. Residents want participatory budget, which invites all residents inside our services. These new forms of FDMs are structured to encourage resident participation. In our case, based on FDM's model, the old way of doing business, residents, listen to the town household budget. To propose extra material items forms. Hold on combination. Flaws in this whole model, that's what you're seeing. Residents, and it's. Limited by the largest bedroom. That's for the gym. Only accommodate. This is less than 50% of the other. This is highly democratic. Just additionally, many blacks AC, which in our case created a very unhealthy budget. See the discussion of extra budgetary items take hours or two, which result in the creation of budget ballot, very complicated. How can Jamestown have improved more? Well, we've already partially to increase the technology resources. Bands and teams and stresses. Eligible Jamestown residents as he checked. Voting machines automatically. Those are the solutions to full farmers. We suggest simply breaking the FTM basis. Phase one, called information / budget compensation fee. Held in the gym. Bunch of items presented by various town departments. And extra budgetary items, warrants, etc. presented. Just debated, probably bringing the details worked out, described before the president. Final details that phase two, held 1 week later. Phase one, this would allow town council to define properly clarify all budget items. Also final budget ballot around the town and Jamestown Press. Voting on the budget be modeled after the statewide process. Out here at the town hall, waiting from 8 to 4. Using the town they provide a poll pass and vote machine. This provides an adequate opportunity for all residents. So in conclusion, Jamestown Board of Commissioners recommends that the town modify and modernize the FTM by simple page process. Phase one information is to benefits of the 2 days. You can process, fully modern maps takes time. Second, our Jamestown residents, democratic, inclusive, discriminatory budget process. All eligible residents, the opportunity to vote. Person. Council, district, gender. Thus.
Couple,
Go ahead.
just a couple of questions. One of the recommendations in here is that we could read that second week of 8 to 4 p.m. Any reason that we would limit it to that window? My biggest concern being, one of the challenges you have to have is it's just that when only certain populations can get there. This ends up just being during the middle of the workday when just certain populations can get there. So that,
Well,
how can we do that better?
You're obviously understand. I just came up with that.
Okay, there's nothing tying us to that specific time, but we can.
Really voting for the state.
Got it.
So.
If the limitation is just a cost to execute
Yeah, right.
and make sure we get people
And
here.
then the other thing was. Long time between. Decision. Changes.
First, I just want to say thank you to you and the board of campuses for working with some of those people. We put a lot into it, and you all did, I can tell. We have a lot to think about,
Yes.
something that's not done lightly or easily, and, actually needs a charter amendment to do it. Change, it's not done by us, so I think that, appreciate all the information you got, you gave us tonight, we'll take it under advisement, definitely can put it on a future agenda. I think Ms. Meredith would like to, Mrs.
Could I just respond to
Mrs. Daphne would like to say something.
Hi, I'm Daphne Merritt, member of Board of Canvassers, I'm a voting Democratic member. I just want to clarify one point that Mr. Murphy made. Thank you. And that is that to date, no one has been turned away at the door for an FTM. However, our preliminary research does show that when towns change their format from an FTM to an all-day referendum, voter participation doesn't. And so that was one of the important considerations that I wanted to make note of tonight. And we know that it would require a charter amendment, and one of the things we'd like to ask you to do is to, if you think it is advisable, include us in the process of helping to advise and do research, you know, in our role as protectors of the integrity of the electoral process and voter education. So we feel invested in the process and in the research to come to the best possible result for the town, taking into account the history and the future.
Hopefully we'll.
Yes, no, we all are, but that is our specific role. You wear many, many hats, but our very specific and small role here is
Thank you very much.
to.
Okay. Next, we have the council, administration board.
Just two items from this evening, so discussion from, I think it was the last meeting about the deer population, just as a background, just efforts by the town, not only through the big task force, but through the resident hunting program. We opened up originally 5 parcels of town about 10 years ago to allow hunters onto town property to hunt. That's been revised back to 4 properties. But chief has provided a report on oversight, in that co-op program. The number of hunters that are in the program this year is 18, which has increased dramatically. about 64 times they visited those sites. Statistically, Jamestown during the 25 season, as many as 68 these are rated deer takes off of the island. As of January 68 deer have been hunted, plus 4 on beaver tail property, which is a separate program managed by DPM. So that's just an update about the efforts. The hunting program is still working, and in our eyes, still successful in mitigating the deer population.
Just a reminder to those that might not have been your last meeting, we asked you to give us a report. Basically, due to some residents' concerns about the number of deer on the north end. So thank you.
If there are any other questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them. If you're program chief this year as well. And Councilor Rossi did ask for an update about the conversation with DOT, CEQA, an effort to develop some type of forum and community discussion. Nancy and her environment planner, planning and zoning. Started just 2 weeks ago, Nancy and I had conversations about facilitating that forum. I spoke with DOT about that, so they are willing to be part of that, which I thought would be helpful. In which they could bring not only what I think everybody views as their recommendation, not necessarily their recommendation, but an option that they had explored. They are willing to come and look and explore all of those options in discussions. Working, getting that, they're working further to further develop those additional options. There's as many as 5. So we're working towards scheduling that opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. You had a question?
No, I just had a question about you were able to estimate, or the state estimates the number of deer in the state, but do we have any sense of what our numbers are? We just know how many we've.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's much as the scientist is not really scientific.
I would think.
These are by methods, let's say change in practice. One is a calculation that you found them here, they're sharp by vehicles, I'm sure how you find that is some scientific. The other is if you fly overs periodically of areas, action accounts.
Yeah.
Somehow applying some science to that.
Yeah. Just would be interesting to know if there are more deer. It's seen.
They're still out, I know.
Yeah, for sure.
No, they were.
What? Not all year round.
Thank you. Thank you. No unfinished business, the next item is new business, which I believe is something that Councilman wants to put up.
Yep, so this was just really an effort to just, because I think last year we may have thrown some curveballs to the community about, as well as to the town administrator about our hopes for some actions and some things. And so just wanted to mention, wondered if council has anything in mind that they have in mind that they hope will be considered. And I would offer a couple. One, of course, has to do with affordable housing. I know there's a request, I think, by the Affordable Housing Committee to increase the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And part of the reason for that would be simply that it helps. There are programs that we did this year. We tried to do that unfortunately required, are waiting for, CDBG and different things like that took over a year to respond, at which point for one of them we were told no. So if we could afford those, which the Sustainable Resident Program, which is a program that works best if it's paid over time. So to increase the funding to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund would help us to do that more readily. The second has to do with the library, and that is that we get, I think it's called grant and aid for the library gets a considerable amount of money, probably the most money we get from the state, about $120,000 or something like that in grant and aid. And but what probably my fellow councilors don't know is that half of that is used, at least half of that is used to pay for part-time staff. And this year, because federal funds to libraries were threatened, there was a potential that that money would be cut. Now, it doesn't look like it's getting cut in the state budget, but I think at some point the town probably, the staffing of the library, and in particular the part-time staffing. And interestingly enough, the folks in the part-time staffers are all Jamestowners, our full-time people are folks who live elsewhere. But particularly that part-time staffing, I think is a responsibility we should probably take on ourselves to fund. And so I think that that's another place that I'm looking at, maybe we can start small and apply some funds to that. So I just thought it was appropriate for us to sort of tell the administrators some things that we were thinking about and have a conversation ourselves, things of areas or issues that we think are places of concern. So I hope it's, so that we don't hit you with some things after you've created the budget and, oh, we want this fund, and we want that, fund, and stuff like that, so that kind of thing.
I'm happy to go next. It is of no surprise probably that some of the things that I'll have a particular interest in this year, similar to some previous years. I'm interested to see where we're going with the additions and bike paths. We can talk about that, and it's been in the bike path committee. So looking not only to see what we can do inside our budget with some of the plans that we already have that we're finishing and what we're doing in conjunction with plans for the Easter Road area, looking to see what we're doing inside of our budget for bike paths and along with bike paths, go walking paths and sidewalks and stuff like that. So that'll be an area of particular interest. Additionally, working with the Eldred Field Committee, there's some talk about some of the smaller improvements that we can do there that are outside of the bond space. We've had some really good conversations about trying to move that forward, and I know there's a lot of effort on the town in working through some of many of the challenges that exist with that property that already been fiscally related, but how we're investing in that. And then again, an issue of mine we're talking a lot about over several years now is cybersecurity and information technology. Awesome steps we've taken forward that you've taken forward in this past year. Our new town website looks great, so much more functionality, so much more access to information, and we'll be taking some steps forward and improving that. So I'm excited to hear more about that and what we're going to do this year in that budget.
Most of what was on my mind, sorry, covered. I mean, I would advocate strongly for a bigger commitment for affordable housing, for sure. So very supportive of that. I'd like to see how we can let through. My main question or point is really around fields at schools. So I don't know the jurisdiction, like is it I believe the rec department used to maintain those fields, maybe wrong. But they're really, they're almost unplayable. And when we have lawn soccer games there, they're almost unplayable. We also don't have a Little League anymore. They're really underutilized assets. I know it can be a little problematic or a lot problematic given the nature of what those fields were built on in terms of the Keystone Archaeological District. But I think we have a responsibility if we're gonna have kids playing on those fields, they need to be in proper order. And secondary to that is they're underutilized, not utilized, then how can we repurpose them and service to serve the community better? So I think we should think about that, whether that's the town specifically taking over responsibility, working with the school committee or the schools to do it. I'm not sure, but those are some big items for me. I don't know, Ed, do you know, like, how do
We
we
can address some of those concerns, starting with these, so ball fields that typically have been responsible for town. Some of the challenges we have with the three ball field perspective, Lily Field, baseball field, and softball. So those fields are maintained by town staff, minimal effort, and minimal investment. The challenge we have is that both for return on investment. Right? So the league still does exist, on a very low scale. Similarly, the middle school team sometimes has a team, sometimes they don't, so it's difficult to make a commitment, make a major investment. Have the last 2 years made investment in the school ball field, the median field, moderately, very expensive on our part, how's hard to invest in these fields. Yeah, it's a challenge of balancing the capital investment. They're considering very limited amount of use. The soccer field does get a significant amount of use in comparison to those two. That's something that we, the town, have taken on traditionally as a responsibility. I'm not sure why the relationship has been so great between the school and the town about responsibility. It's something we would have to retain. Going back to some of the comments related to like that's in Elgin Avenue, that is something that taking a look at the capital budget. I just want to remind the council that our capital budget, was around $900,000. You have a $250,000 request for affordable housing. That's tough to justify, tough to fit into the budget. That's of it. Most of what we look at, as I tell you, year after year, unfortunately, because of the cost of vehicles, cost of equipment, most of those eventually equate to bond development. Here we are. One item that we do know is coming up in the forefront letters, which we'll see this year during the FTM, or at if you consider November consideration related to a bond, is the investment is for the ladder truck. Into that very soon. We're not going to have a ladder truck. Order time is 3 so delivery time from order is 3. Those are all things balancing. I'm still trying to balance our needs related to staff, right? Admittedly, I think everybody admits that we are in a lot of cases understaffed in certain areas. So those are things that we're looking at. So that makes challenges like taking on the responsibility of supporting staff that's already funded by other means. And I understand the mechanism, the thought process behind that. But it's difficult for us to prioritize shifting responsibility. Really, we need to decide staffing levels across the all of those things are in play. The department heads I rely on them to submit their operating budget. They are due to this week. That our capital budget request that already been submitted. The magnitude of approximately $3 million in capital requests for next year with about $900,000. All those things are like, I want to just remind the council of a couple of things. We have that we're familiar with 4% cap where we are and applying the tax levy. Those numbers of where we are in terms of the rate amount between us, department, school department, prorated amount is about 60% of that. We have that, and I just want to remind the council that we did an analysis about the state property tax, which it's my understanding issued their property tax bills independently in July, and they we know that if you look at our entire tax levy, about 25 million, about the even number 25 million, they're applying 15% on top. So it's a 15% tax levy increase that's going to the state right on top of whatever you increase
On properties over $1 million, that's correct, right?
It's about $3.8 million in state property tax revenues. So we have the state revenue budgets coming back based on the governor's recommended budget. There's no dramatic increase in what the revenue is coming. In fact, I think that in terms of what the state aid coming. So we have all of those challenges. It's not necessarily about affordability, it's about planning. And I appreciate affordable housing bonds and perhaps rec bonds and those types of things. I would urge the council to make sure that we do our due diligence, right? There are opportunities at the November election this year. If there's a consideration for them to meet the opportunity for the taxpayers to be heard, and the opportunity to hear fully what is being proposed. Those projects are fully vetted, fully budgeted, and allow the taxpayers to make those decisions.
I think that's absolutely true. I mean, I think I didn't mention, and I didn't mean to make light of bonds. I think last year, your efforts to, after post-COVID and all of that, the capital expenditure, the capital bonds that you put forth were, made a lot of sense. They were terrific. I think we added to that, and it was the sort of the absence of our conversations, I would say, that perhaps had prompted some confusion. But I do think that, I think you've also expedited the whole, looking at Knowles Court as a potential affordable and workforce housing project that, you know, may allow us to put something before the voters at some point, presumably probably in November. And I really appreciate that expediting. I think it's just, I really just wanted to get things out there, just have that conversation that you just had. I mean, the fact that the state has chosen now to add another tax to folks whose properties were $1 million, well, that's me. And that's pretty much 50% of our population, right? Because our median value was $985.
It's just obvious about just has to be second. And it's not a year round.
Okay.
Especially. It still has not flushed out how they gonna
Right.
handle those exceptions.
Exactly, you know, so guess what? They're in the midst of talking about everything right now. They could change that. It could be all kinds of problems. So I mean, that is a very good point as to what we're facing. But I just thought it was important to sort of start to have conversations about it and not scare anybody, but just like, here are some things. Here are the issues, and absolutely what the canvassers said in terms of a framework by which people can really think about it. Now, we will have, and I will remind everybody that we do have budget discussions that go on through March. Fewer people than are sitting in this room who are not working for the town of Jamestown ever come to those discussions. So they're always welcome to come and talk about the issues that are before us. But thank you, we appreciate it.
Not only is it just good information to come at that time, but if you want to share your opinion, that's the best time to provide it when there's more time for things to be changed. So yeah, I would agree with that entirely. I do think it's also worth pointing out, you kind of mentioned it there, and the administrator mentioned it, but there's already over $3 million of requests for a $900,000 capital budget. A $900,000 capital budget for town is embarrassing. It's too small, just it doesn't work. Now, we have to fit inside of that financial architecture based upon that state requirement, which puts us in the position where we were last year and where we will be every year under this construct, is that we bond for infrastructure. That is currently the only mechanism by which we really make investments in the town.
Right.
So we should either change that or just get used to it and operate in that construct and look to do exactly those things. If we're gonna do something like this, we're gonna provide. If we're gonna make any significant like changes or upgrades to infrastructure in the town, really, if that's paths or anything else.
That's the only way that we can do that, is because, I mean, I remember Catherine Maxwell at the financial town meeting said, I think we should go back to the old system of pay as you go. But the reality is the state does not allow you to pay as you go. The state encourages you to bond. So they must be working with the banks. But anyway, this, you know, I think that the fact is that you can't, given the cap, you cannot kind of pay as you go. That with the cost of services and construction and things like that, and vehicles and stuff, as you said. So I think it's a peculiar system. One's going to praise the state of Rhode Island for their economic genius, but we will keep pursuing it. But thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, that brings us to ordinance and vacancies and expiring terms. We have one member vacancy for the Affordable Housing Committee. This is for an unexpired 3-year term in December 31st, 2027.
So I would love to, I'm very delighted that Dan Warner chose to apply. As you heard his qualifications, he's eminently qualified for this, so I would I nominate Dan Warner for the Affordable Housing Committee.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the next one, and Tony, I don't know if you were in the room when I mentioned this, we're not gonna vote on tonight because they told you, okay. One of the applicants wasn't able to come and interview this evening, so we're gonna put that off until. I think next meeting, is that correct? Yeah, February 2nd. Brings us to the.
No,
Consent agenda.
the only thing on the consent agenda we've already raised, was the discussion about the senior center, and I meant to ask you about, I don't think skylights were in were in your plans for the senior center.
Not just to clarify, that if you're not, I included and investigation to the council. And ironically, the roof was replaced like Thursday, Friday of last week.
Right.
Backwards.
Right, that was my concern with the letter, the timing of it was a little bit seemingly delayed, I'm not quite sure why. I presume we haven't painted or things like that, so some of the other concerns that they have in terms of the historical integrity of the building might be still for discussion, I guess.
Yeah, I just give the council just a quick update as to where we are on the project, so we are completed with demolition. We are back to, probably about 90% complete on framing out offices. The roof, as I indicated, was replaced last week. The addition is complete in terms of framing. We are working towards receiving, quotes on our mechanical, since our HVAC, our plumbing, electrical, this, we do have some of it, which related to installation, right? So we think there's an opportunity for installation. And as you have before you today is the replacement of 30 window units, which is all of the windows in the entire building. So some of those things, I speak optimistically that our budget is very good at this point. Some of those things were actually not even in what we thought was going to be the scope of work in terms of installation. Some of those things adding in back.
That's great, that's great. Thank you.
Can I ask you, like, what about like the furniture and the, those things? Still, there's still time for discussion or input from the committee?
So we're working with two furniture consultants to help us on the furniture. And understanding the I won't say the particular needs, but senior population is different than the elementary population or library populations. All of those things are taken out. We have not got to finish furnishing as of yet. But we're working with various consultants on this.
So there's time then, or how could that committee give you more input after the walkthrough? They were concerned that maybe the level, lower level was going to be arranged in such a way that it would be able to be used for anything else.
No, that's not the case. There's nothing fixed in terms of any of the furniture there.
Okay.
It's trying to make best use of the space there, considering some of the limitations of the columns that were needed. So we had talked about customizing furniture.
Right.
That maximizes that space, but none of it is fixed.
Did they, when they did the tour, did they walk through with you?
We did.
They did, okay.
That's not the current condition. And as I say, it's a typical construction site, it's just framed only at this point, but by and large, where we are, we're nowhere near finishing.
Question about the flooring, was it asked to put flooring?
To maintain the wood flooring that exists upstairs. And potentially, I think the
Use
wood,
actual,
yeah, the wood
like
flooring.
refinish it?
Yeah. But then also downstairs, I don't know what,
Well, they ripped up, and they were very pleased.
yeah, well,
with
that was
Because there
not
was no
wood flooring,
yeah.
that was the wood ends. But I think to put wood flooring downstairs would probably be out of your budget.
No, I think they just meant the basement, like the plank,
Yeah.
what do you call those things?
Luxury vinyl tile.
Yeah.
Well, it's that,
But the upstairs, they were concerned that it was mentioned that it might be carpeted or the carpet tiles or some, like this, no, not like this, but.
This is not carpet tile, it's ultimately we see stairs always.
Yeah, police station, okay, fire station, that's everything. So then the concern was, you know, the elderly walking and, you know, a lot of them had concern about this. It stops them too fast and they fall. And then the other thing was too, that they have Zumba classes and stuff like that there, and that's not conducive to a rug. So-
Right, yeah, so I mean, I heard two things, one was that, which it seemed like that was a predominant concern. And that they were like, oh, well, if we maintained the wood floor or something
It's currently there.
that's there, that would solve the issue, I think, like, I hear wood floor, I hear. Like, current maintenance over a period of time, that you may have to.
He was concerned about the agenda, so if I.
Okay, clarification, question.
Oh, sorry.
We get a little bit further along.
Sure, okay, just wanted.
We will have consultants who come in, guidance about that. And then we can give a presentation to council about what their recommendations will be. Perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're still at the consent agenda, you said that,
Then there are also
Two is
two short-term rentals
where are we?
on the, almost next to last page, page 6. For the short term, wait for William Hutchinson at 4 Federal Road and Victoria Mountain at 80th Street Hamilton. Anybody has any concerns about those? No, so I would recommend will be passed the consent agenda as with those
With
two
those two.
short-term rentals.
So moved.
Okay, motion second, there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That brings us to communications, which the council acknowledges. You have another open forum, to take a moment to speak. Then I will entertain the, continuing in going into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you all for coming. Stay warm, stay safe.